What if I told you that the life you're living right now, comfortable, predictable, maybe even successful, is also the very thing holding you back from the greatness you're meant for? This isn't just about achieving more. It's about becoming more. You weren't born to settle. You were born to stretch, to break through limits, and to build something that outlives you. Today, we're going on a journey from comfort to conqueror. Let's unlock the path to breaking limits and building a legacy. Step 1, comfort is the enemy of growth. Most people don't realize that the comfort zone, while it feels good and safe, is actually one of the most dangerous places to stay. It's subtle, it's silent, but it slowly convinces you that good is good enough, that what you've already achieved is all there is, that pushing further is unnecessary, or worse, risky. And because it doesn't look like a problem, because it doesn't feel like pain, it goes unnoticed. But comfort isn't neutral. It's a quiet limiter. It doesn't just stop your progress, it reverses it. Over time, it dulls your ambition. It lowers your standards. It shrinks your dreams down to what feels easy, doable, familiar. And the moment you start choosing what's easy over what's necessary, you begin to drift, not grow. Growth, by its very nature, is uncomfortable. It demands challenge. It asks you to stretch beyond what you've known, beyond what you're good at, beyond what feels safe. Think about the gym. You don't get stronger by lifting what's easy. You build muscle by facing resistance. The same applies to your mindset, your goals, your entire life. Without resistance, there's no adaptation. Without discomfort, there's no development. The comfort zone also tricks you into thinking you have time. It tells you you can start tomorrow, you can change next week, you've got more time than you think. But that's a lie. Comfort delays decisions, it postpones action. And every day you delay, you reinforce habits that keep you stagnant. Comfort also limits your perspective. When you live in comfort too long, your world becomes smaller. You stop taking risks. You stop meeting new people, exploring new ideas, or testing new skills. You become attached to the familiar, and unfamiliar starts to feel threatening rather than exciting. This is how potential gets buried, not by failure, but by playing it safe. There's also a hidden cost. Comfort comes at the expense of your future self. It steals from your potential. The dreams you shelve, the goals you procrastinate on, the skills you never develop, all of it adds up. And eventually you'll feel it. You'll look back and wonder, what if I had pushed harder? What if I had tried? Where could I be now? It doesn't matter how talented, smart, or capable you are. If you stay comfortable, you'll always operate below your capacity. Step 2, awareness, is the first breakthrough. Most people walk through life reacting to circumstances, unaware of the internal patterns that shape their behavior, choices, and results. They focus on what's happening to them rather than what's happening within them. But the truth is, nothing meaningful changes until awareness begins. Awareness is the first shift. It's the moment you stop running on autopilot and start examining the beliefs, habits, fears, and stories that drive your life. You can't fix what you don't see. You can't improve what you don't understand. And you certainly can't conquer what you haven't confronted. Awareness is about stepping back from your life, not to judge it, but to observe it with honesty. It's asking yourself hard questions. Why do I keep procrastinating? Why do I shrink when opportunity shows up? Why do I settle when I know I want more? It's about pausing long enough to listen to yourself instead of just moving through the motion. When you develop awareness, patterns that were invisible suddenly become obvious. You begin to see how your thoughts lead to emotions, your emotions to actions, and your actions to results. You notice how self-doubt shows up right before you're about to take a risk. You realize how fear disguises itself as logic and keeps you from making bold moves. You start to connect the dots between how you think and what you experience. It's also the moment you take back your power, because as long as you think life is just happening to you, you feel helpless. But when you realize that your mindset, your habits, your standards, you are part of the equation, you become capable of changing it. Awareness opens the door to responsibility. And responsibility opens the door to growth. Awareness isn't passive. It requires intentional reflection. It means slowing down to evaluate, journaling your thoughts, asking better questions, seeking feedback, and being willing to sit with discomfort. Sometimes what you discover won't feel good. You might come face to face with limiting beliefs you've carried for years, fears you've tried to ignore, or excuses you've been using as protection. But in those moments, you also find clarity. You get to see what's real, not just what's convenient. It's not about perfection. It's about recognition. Even noticing that you're stuck is progress. Even realizing that you've been lying to yourself is a step forward. Awareness turns vague frustration into specific insight. And once you have insight, you can make intentional change. You can choose differently. You can move from reaction to creation, from confusion to clarity. Step 3, question written goals. Goals that live only in your mind are like smoke, intangible, ever-shifting, and easy to forget. Most people have wishes, not goals. They say things like, I want to be successful, or I want to make more money, or someday I'll start that business. But vague goals produce vague results. When you don't write your goals down, you leave them open to distraction, delay, and eventual disappearance. Writing them down transforms a fleeting idea into a focused commitment. A clear written goal forces your mind to focus. It gives direction to your energy and filters your decisions. It becomes a north star in the chaos of everyday life. Instead of drifting from one task to another, you begin to align your time, resources, and actions with a specific outcome. You shift from being reactive to being proactive. Every day starts to matter more because you're not just doing things, you're moving toward something. There's power in specificity. I want to lose weight means nothing until it becomes I will lose 15 pounds by July 1st through 5 workouts per week and clean eating. I want to earn more becomes useful when you say I will increase my income by $25,000 0 cents this year by launching a freelance service and acquiring 5 new clients. Vague intentions create confusion. Specific goals create clarity, and clarity fuels confidence. When you write a goal down, it signals to your brain that this matters. It activates a part of the mind called the reticular activating system, which begins to filter the world around you in alignment with your target. You start to notice opportunities, resources, and people that can help you. Things that were always there but went unnoticed because your brain didn't consider them relevant. Written goals bring focus. There's also a psychological commitment involved. When a goal is on paper, it becomes visible, it becomes real. You can track it, review it, and hold yourself accountable to it. It's no longer just a passing thought or a hopeful wish. It's a promise to yourself, and every time you look at that written goal, you remind yourself of what you're building and why it matters. Goals also create urgency. A goal with a deadline introduces time into the equation. It gives you pressure. Not the kind that paralyzes, but the kind that activates urgency and intentionality. You stop wasting time. You become more deliberate with your hours. You start to measure progress and adjust strategies. And that process of evaluating, refining, and improving keeps you engaged and motivated. Writing goals also helps you break them down. A big goal might feel overwhelming, but when it's on paper, you can reverse engineer it into steps. You can define milestones, create timelines, and identify what skills or resources you'll need. It moves from abstract to actionable. And that transition from idea to plan is what separates dreamers from doers. Most people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a year. But with clear, written goals, you stretch your vision beyond the short term. You begin to think in terms of progress, momentum, and growth over time. You create a blueprint not just for what you want, but for who you are becoming in the process. Step 4, discipline, your daily weapon. Discipline is often misunderstood. People think it's about restriction or punishment, as if it means denying yourself joy or constantly grinding without rest. But real discipline isn't about punishment. It's about alignment. It's the quiet, consistent force that aligns your daily behavior with your deepest values and biggest goals. It's the bridge between intention and achievement, between what you say you want and what you actually do to get there. Talent is important. Motivation is helpful, but neither can carry you for the long haul. Talent may give you a head start and motivation might light the fire, but it's discipline that keeps the engine running when the excitement fades, because excitement always fades. There will always be days when you don't feel like showing up, when things move slower than you expected, when results aren't visible yet. That's where discipline kicks in, not as a feeling, but as a decision. There's a compounding effect to discipline. One disciplined act might feel small in the moment, writing one page, making one call, saving $1, but repeated over time, it builds something massive. It creates habits, and habits form character. You don't just achieve goals through discipline, you become someone new, someone who doesn't need to be watched or reminded, someone who is mentally tough and emotionally steady. Discipline also builds self-respect. Every time you do the thing you said you'd do, you build internal credibility. You teach yourself that your word means something, that your goals aren't negotiable, that your standards are real. Over time, this creates an identity shift. You stop being someone who tries, you become someone who executes. And this identity becomes a shield against distractions, setbacks, and temptations. Another powerful aspect of discipline is that it simplifies your life. When you live with discipline, you don't have to constantly renegotiate with yourself. You don't waste time in mental tug-of-wars over whether to follow through or take the easy way out. You've already decided in advance. The decision is made, and that decision frees up energy to focus, perform, and grow. Discipline turns chaos into structure, and structure creates freedom. There's a certain peace that comes from knowing you're in control, not of everything, but of yourself. That peace doesn't come from outside accomplishments, but from the consistent, quiet victories that come with self-discipline. You don't have to wait for life to give you permission. You create your own momentum. You master your day, one decision at a time. And even when discipline feels hard, when it requires sacrifice, when it demands repetition, it also gives back. It builds confidence, not from hype, but from proof. Because every day you honor your commitment, you prove to yourself that you are capable, that you are responsible, that you are becoming who you are meant to be. Step 5, face fear with action. Fear is a natural part of growth. It shows up anytime you're on the edge of something unfamiliar, uncertain, or meaningful. The presence of fear doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're human. But the problem isn't fear itself. The real issue is how you respond to it. Most people wait to feel fearless before they act, not realizing that fearlessness is a byproduct of action, not a prerequisite for it. You don't think your way out of fear, you move your way through it. Fear thrives in inaction. When you hesitate, overthink, or avoid, you give fear room to grow. It becomes louder in the silence. The longer you wait, the more intimidating it feels. But when you take action, even a small step, you interrupt fear's momentum. You break the pattern. You take control. Action flips the script. It turns fear from a wall into a doorway, from an excuse into a catalyst. It's easy to assume that successful people are simply braver or more confident, but in truth, most of them feel fear just like anyone else. The difference is that they've trained themselves to respond with action. They've conditioned a habit of movement even when their heart is racing or their mind is filled with doubt. They know that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision that something else matters more. Fear tries to keep you in the known. It's your mind's way of protecting you from risk, failure, embarrassment, or discomfort. But the irony is that staying in the known too long creates its own kind of pain, the pain of stagnation, regret, and missed opportunity. Every dream worth chasing requires stepping into uncertainty. Every meaningful achievement lives on the other side of fear, and the only way to reach it is through movement. When you take action, you change your internal chemistry. Your brain shifts from anxiety to focus. Your energy goes from frozen to flowing. You start building evidence that you can handle challenges, that you can do hard things. This is how confidence is built, not by repeating affirmations, but by collecting real proof through action. You don't have to leap all at once. You just need to take the next right step. Make the call, start the project, say the words, apply for the opportunity. The step doesn't need to be big. It just needs to be forward. And with each step, fear shrinks while your belief in yourself expands. That's how momentum works. Each action teaches you that fear is not permanent, not paralyzing, unless you allow it to be. And even when the outcome isn't perfect, even when you stumble or fall, you grow, you build resilience, you develop grit. Because every time you act in spite of fear, you teach yourself that you are not defined by emotion, but by your choices. Fear may visit, but it doesn't get to drive. You do. Through movement, through decision, through boldness, even when it's quiet and shaky, you reclaim your power step by step. Step 6, live to leave a legacy. At some point, every person comes face to face with a deeper question. Not just what am I achieving, but what am I leaving? The pursuit of success is fulfilling, but there's something even more powerful than personal accomplishment, the impact you leave behind. To leave a legacy means you shift your focus from immediate gratification to long-term contribution. It's about creating something that lasts beyond your lifetime, something that continues to speak after you're no longer here to say the words yourself. Legacy isn't only for the wealthy or the famous. It's not just about having your name on a building or your story in a book. It's in the daily way you live, the way you treat people, the values you embody, and the lives you touch. It's the character you show when no one's watching, the example you set for your children, your team, your community. Legacy is built in quiet moments, consistent effort, and the unwavering decision to live with purpose rather than passivity. To live for legacy requires a different lens. It asks you to think not just about what you're doing, but why you're doing it and who it will benefit beyond yourself. It challenges you to act with vision, to plant seeds you may never personally harvest. It's about impact, not image. It's about building something more meaningful than comfort, influence, integrity, and inspiration. And this perspective redefines how you approach your time, your talents, and you begin to realize that the choices you make today ripple outward. The words you speak, the standards you uphold, the kindness you show, all of it leaves a mark. And when you live consciously aware of that, you start elevating your behavior. You hold yourself to a higher level. Not for applause, but because you understand that someone else is watching. Someone is learning from how you live. Your child, your student, your client, your colleague, maybe even someone you've never met. The legacy also gives you endurance. When your reason is bigger than you, you stop giving up so easily. You endure the hard days because you know the result is worth it. You make sacrifices now to benefit someone else later. There's a strength that comes from knowing you're building something that will outlast you. You're not just passing time, you're passing on values, wisdom, and a way of life that can guide others long after you're gone. Living with legacy in mind pushes you to elevate your goals. It's no longer enough to just make money, you want to make meaning. It's no longer enough to just succeed, you want to serve. You start to ask better questions. What am I modeling? What story will people tell about me? What foundation am I laying for others to stand on? This shift brings clarity to your mission. It fuels your purpose with a kind of internal fire that isn't easily extinguished. And it's not about perfection. Leaving a legacy isn't about never making mistakes. It's about being real, being resilient, and rising again when you fall. It's about being willing to grow, to evolve, to become the kind of person whose life teaches others that growth is possible. The power of your legacy is not just in what you accomplish, but in how you inspire others to believe they can do the same. Legacy is not just what you leave behind, it's what you build while you're here. One decision, one action, one day at a time. So as you stand at the edge of your potential, remember this. Your life was never meant to be lived in the shadows of comfort. You were built to rise, to stretch, to conquer. Growth begins when you step beyond what's familiar. Change begins when you open your eyes and become aware of who you are and who you could be. It's forged in the fire of discipline, shaped by clear written goals and powered by bold action in the face of fear. This journey isn't about perfection, it's about progress. It's about making daily decisions that pull you closer to the person you were born to become. And when you do that consistently, something incredible happens. You don't just change your life, you build a legacy. So don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait until you feel ready. Step forward now with courage, with intention, and with the decision to never settle. From comfort to conqueror, that's your path. Go claim it.